All right, happy Sunday quarterback time. The Huskers get win number 1 for Matt Rule, a convincing victory over Northern Illinois, a game that wasn't even as close as the final score indicated. The final score was 35-11. Well, let's talk about the defense before we get to the quarterback stuff, Sean, because I thought the defense really carried the load on Saturday.
Yeah, the offense comes out, scripted drive, gets that 7-0 lead, and you're like, okay, here we go. But then they get the turnover after the defense gets that 3 and out, and they set the tone in this game right away. Inside the 5-yard line, they forced Northern Illinois to kick a field goal. And I thought that was a real big moment in this game because that first half was a back and forth fist fight, and it was only 14-3 at the break. But I thought the defense had some wins early that led to bigger wins for Nebraska in the second half.
Yeah, Matt Rule said that stop to force Northern Illinois to get the field goal after the turnover was one of the turning points of this game, saying that's what his program is built on in terms of culture, making stops when one side of the ball needs to be picked up, and they did. And speaking of the rushing defense, they gave up just 26 yards on the night on 22 carries.
And you can sense everyone's on the same page. And, Charlie McBride, former Nebraska defensive coordinator, used to say the biggest thing with defense is you have to have a belief in the system. And you sense that when these guys play, there is an ultimate belief in the system. Everybody knows their job. The tackling's good. The pass rush is good. And the opposing offenses look confused. I mean, they just don't know which direction they're coming from at times. And we've saw flashes the first 2 weeks. The problem was the turnovers of the offense kind of forced the dam to break on this defense. We finally saw the offense play a clean game, and I think we saw the results of what it can do for this defense.
Yeah, Nebraska forced a turnover late in the game, Javin Wright with a big interception. Let's talk about offensively. Obviously, we got to talk about the quarterback, Heinrich Harburg, his first collegiate start at quarterback, and he did an admirable job.
Yeah, he did his job first and foremost. I liked early on, Matt Rule said, we're just going to run an option play, kind of just get the spider webs off you a little bit.
Take a hit, right?
Just kind of get off the horse a little bit, get going. But he didn't force anything. You could tell, first of all, you only get an opportunity to start a game at Nebraska every so often, especially when you're not the hand-picked and anointed quarterback. And that's not, Heinrich Harburg wasn't. Jeff Sims was, Casey Thompson was, Adrian Martinez. Heinrich Harburg's had to work to get to this point. He's like, look, I may never get this chance again in my life. He went out there and played like it was the chance of his life, and he made a convincing case. Now, will he be the guy going forward? It's hard to say, but I think he showed enough that, hey, we're comfortable playing this guy another week next week and see what it looks like.
Isn't there something special, too, about a homegrown Nebraska quarterback? He's the first guy, I think, in 4 years since Noah Vedral to be a Nebraska native to start for Nebraska in a football game. And, he led the team in rushing, 98 yards and a touchdown. He threw it for 158 and 2 touchdowns. Had to just be an awesome deal. And as you said, he's put his name in the conversation, at least to be considered to give other teams, hey, we got to think about number 10 as well as number 7.
Right, and he's a handful. He's a physical runner. He's got a strong arm.
He's fast.
I thought the rollout play on the third down throw was a big moment because they were 3rd and 14, and that was a play they weren't making the first 2 weeks. It was, you just didn't see Jeff Sims looking at, granted, it's Northern Illinois, but Northern Illinois beat Boston College. But Jeff Sims wasn't looking down the field, making that kind of throw. So there were some real promising moments. Thomas Fedoni kind of came back alive 2 weeks in a row now with Heinrich Harburg. And they don't have a lot of receivers on this team, so they need a guy like Fedoni to get going.
Yeah, Fedoni, the leading receiver on Saturday for the Huskers, 4 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. I want to ask you a little bit about the injuries now. We don't know much, but, after the game, Matt Rule did say some of his key guys got nicked up, including a couple running backs.
Yeah, both Ramir Johnson and Gabe Urban Jr. nicked up in this football game. What does that mean? It's really hard to say. Team doesn't practice on Monday. They do a light deal Sunday. So, honestly, we really won't know a lot till Tuesday. The concerning one was Cameron Lenhart, the defensive lineman. He left the game after the first series. So, we're talking about an ankle, a shoulder. What kind of injury did he go down with? Because it wasn't something we noticed other than this he wasn't on the field.
All right, I can't let you go without asking about the drone show. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
Third quarter?
Yeah, props to Trev Alberts and his team. It's kind of hard to top the light show, but I'm just blown away. Like, how many drones are
How
up
do they
there?
do that?
Like, who's doing this? It's crazy, but I think volleyball night in Nebraska was kind of the kickoff party of that deal.
Yep.
But if you're a photographer, that's a dream come true to get those shots, and props because it was a great environment, a great crowd. A packed house tonight.
You mentioned that, and I want to ask you about that because we have had so many of these sessions after these games. We're just trying to stay positive. But tonight, it felt like there was a real true sense of hope with fans leaving the stadium.
Look, Nebraska fans want a product on the field they're proud of. They want to see physical defense. They want to see downhill running, and they don't want to see guys making, unforced errors that you can prevent. And we saw that, and I think that's the key. People here will get behind football like that, and the first 2 weeks it was very frustrating. I just think because we've been through so much over the last 6, 8, 10 years where we've seen so much bad football. I just think it opened up some scars from the past, even though Matt Rule had nothing to do with it, but finally a clean, collective game came together, and I thought that was big.
Yeah, Matt Rule said after the game, for the fans, this may be about hope, but for him, this is about belief in a system, that his system does work, and it worked on Saturday night as Northern Illinois, they dispose of the Huskies 35-11 for win number 1 for Matt Rule here at Nebraska. The Huskers will go for win number 2 Saturday when they host Louisiana Tech.